Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 1 of a brand new review series called Tour of Japan. And you guys actually voted, of course, a few months ago for this series to be the series that would take over from where Dirt Masters left off. Now, the Dirt Masters series has not ended. It's just kind of like Spirit of Le Mans was in subsidence until new relevant cars are added. But in this series, we are reviewing every single JGTC car in the game. That's GT300 and GT500 class vehicles. Now, this class of racing is referred to in a variety of ways: GT500, JGTC, Super GT, etc. And these cars are hugely popular on Gran Turismo, primarily for their handling. Now, originally I was not planning on doing an episode for every single model because many of them are very similar. But at the end of the day, I thought I couldn't really do that, because what if someone chooses to buy a car from this class that I haven't done a review for? That's not going to give them much help, considering that there are differences between them. Some of them far more differing than you'd expect. So I decided to just make it simple and do a review for every single JGTC car. Now, I was originally intending to have the format of this series to be very similar to Dirt Masters, where we would take the car on, say, 3 different track types and rate each of the car's attributes out of 5. But at the end of the day, although there are differences between them, the differences between the JGTC vehicles are so finite that rating them out of 5 just isn't an accurate enough way of portraying their differences. So instead of that, we're just going for a straight up Dark Series style overall review, just to tell you what the car's like and what it has to offer, without all the needless ratings out of 5, which doesn't really mean much in the case of this series. So, in this inaugural episode, we're featuring the Toyota Denso Sard Supra. It's a GT500 class machine. It's from the year 2000. It's powered by a 2-litre engine. So what does this particular model have to offer? Well, for a start, it looks like it's wearing a kabuki mask, which is pretty cool. But it's powered by a 2-litre engine, as we said, and when fully tuned, it produces 804 brake horsepower and 713 pound-feet of torque. So, pretty impressive specs for a 2-litre engine. It weighs in at 1100 kilos, which is similar to many of the other Supras and many of the other JGTC vehicles in general. It has a fully tuned PP of 644, which isn't quite as high as some of the other Supras or some of the other JGTC cars, and it has a power-to-weight ratio of a very impressive 731 horsepower per tonne. So that's it for the basic spec. But what does it have to offer in a straight line and around the track, and also what's it like to drive? Well, in a straight line, many of the JGTC cars have very similar performance. The Supras, this one included, tend to hover around the 225 to 230 mph region when fully tuned with a low downforce setting. Their acceleration is very strong thanks to the huge torque. And that is one of the great things about the Supra. It has both huge power and huge torque, so everything you really need for any racing situation. Now, the weight, as I said, is very similar to many other JGTC machines. It is lighter than some, it is a little heavier than some, but in general its weight is very good, it's very low, and the power to weight ratio due to that is very impressive. What's it like to drive around the track though? Well, overall, I have to say it's very good. Now, that's probably not surprising, as the Supra race cars have always been a staple of Gran Turismo racing way back since the first game, and this is no exception. The handling is very good, very, very grippy. Obviously, you can get the back end to slide out, as you can with any car with 800 horsepower, but overall the handling is very, very good. Now, is it necessarily the best JGTC handling machine? Well, not necessarily, but to be honest, I would say it's up there. The handling is very, very good, and it's also surprisingly easy to drive considering how much power and torque it has in such a lightweight package. Now, as far as real-life success, I believe, I don't really follow JGTC, but I believe the Denso Supra was a reasonably successful machine, if I remember correctly, and I would say, personally, it's one of the best looking JGTC models of the Supra. Now, obviously that's down to personal preference, but I just love the combination of red and white anyway. Now, it costs 750,000 credits, which puts it smack dab against many of the other JGTC cars in terms of price. But, interestingly, that does undercut some of the other Supras and some of the other JGTC cars in general. Some of them cost more, at 900,000, some of the stealth models cost even more again. But my advice, never buy a stealth model. Don't buy a chrome line vehicle either, they're useless. But 750 grand means it's definitely not the cheapest of JGTC cars, but for the GT500 class it is well priced. Many of the other Supras are around 750 grand as well, but overall, if you're looking for a good, strong, all-round JGTC machine, this car is a very good choice. And finally, it of course does not, unfortunately, have an interior. But that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.